Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Michael, the Friday edition. Hope everybody has had a great week. We had an interesting project we're finishing up yesterday. Just got a couple more steps to go. But let me get us started with our word of the day. Mornings with Michael is brought to you for information and educational purposes only. It is your responsibility to do your own due diligence before taking any steps in investing. Celerity is our word of the day, which is swiftness of movement. When the bell went off, the students shot for the door with celerity. So there's our word of the day, celerity. And now let's go and take a look at our heat map for the day. After a rough day yesterday, we got a little bit of a bounce back. Microsoft is up. NVIDIA recaptured its 50-day moving average. AMD, most of the semiconductors are up. Amazon is up. Google, Meta, Lilly. We did decide to close off Amazon and Microsoft. Didn't feel we had a big enough cushion based on what happened to Facebook. We had closed down Facebook before the earnings, so luckily that was, I just had a feeling that something wasn't going to go right with Facebook. So that's a look there. AbbVie is down. Some energy issues are down today. Finances kind of bouncing around. Tesla is up slightly. Restaurant issues are up. So there we have that. We just show all our windows, and here we go. Here's our annuity. If you have spent a lifetime building up your assets and don't want to lose them in a repeat of 2008, the market right now kind of looks like the 1970s with stagflation kind of on the horizon, but it moves up. You do not lose any of your money, and it beats index investing by about 5%, and still gives you the capability of being in the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and if you pay a fee, you can get close to a 200% participation rate. And so there you have it. You can take a look at that. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to get back to me. Let us go to our charts. My, oh my, our chart is all the way in the bottom. Hopefully it works a little better than what it was the other day. We're going to start off with the 10-year Treasury yield. It is pulling back a little bit. It bounced off of its 10-day moving average. My fear was this looked like a cup with a handle, and sure enough, it is moving up. Cup with a handle is a bullish formation, and same thing with the 20-year yield. Look at that handle forming, and this is a pivot to get into it. So some people are fearing rates could go as high as 8% to battle inflation caused by over government spending. And then they just spent another big chunk of our money sending money over to foreign countries, and yet we can't secure our border. So there's our 20-year yield. Let's take a look at some of the indexes. S&P 500 gaps up today. Will it fill that gap is the question. it's up a little over 1%. RSP looks pretty flat for the day. That's not so good. And the NASDAQ is up. At one point, it was up over 2%, I believe. And it's pulling back a little bit. And the equal weight in the NASDAQ is up strongly as well, up nearly 0.7%. IWM. On that pullback, and the yield is bouncing a little bit, up 1.12. And the Dow Jones looks like it's trying to fill the gap, up 0.53%. So let's take a look at some of our indexes, financials. Wells Fargo had been trending. Yeah, it's bouncing off of the 10-day moving average. JP Morgan up, and Citibank, it looked like it started to trend. We got a bounce in Citibank as well. Energy has got a pullback. Oil prices are up. Natural gas is down 2%. Utilities got a pullback in utilities. Real estate. Real estate's up a little bit on pullback in the yield. Infrastructure had a little bit of a bounce, hitting its head on its 50-day. Semiconductors got a strong move right at their 50-day. Kind of like NVIDIA is now above its 50-day. So there we have it. Biotech is bouncing. See, are they bouncing on both? The XBI is getting above its 200-day, trying to fill the gap there. Metals and mining, we'll take a look at that a little bit. It's up slightly. Home builders, slightly. We did take a position in Royal Caribbean today. It's up 1.77%. And let's see, we are missing jets. Got a little bit of pullback in the airlines. So there's a look there. Let's take a look at the dollar. It was down, was actually up a little earlier, and it's staying up nearly 0.5%. Silver down slightly, down 0.8. Gold up, it's pretty flat, although it is up slightly. Wow, look at that move. That is amazing. Somebody is buying that, that's for sure. Now I'm sad that we sold yesterday. We may nibble in that a little bit on that move. Southern Copper is up strong. Look at the copper index. It just keeps surging. FCX is up as well. Vale got a gap up above its 20-day moving average. Rio is up. Interesting. Caterpillar really got torched yesterday. BHP group is gapping down. So that's just kind of look at steel dynamics. These guys are on a couple of different indexes. So there we have that. Now let's take a look at our news for the day. Bank of Japan is no changes to interest rate policy from their March statement, saying they will conduct JGB purchases in line with decisions made at the March meeting. So on to our sector look. In consumer, Boston Beer Q1 revenues rose 3.9% year over year, 426.1 million versus estimate of 413.21. It looked like it had a gap up in the morning and then it really sold off, even though the earnings were up 251%. Boyd Gaming Q1 EPS $1.51 versus estimate of $1.57, and you would think that would drop, and it dropped like a rock, down 16% on that news. Columbia Sportswear Q1 EPS 71 cents versus 35 cents. Another gap up and crash on that gap up. 71 cents versus 35 cents, and net sales of 771 million. Skechers. Oh, wow. Look at that move on Skechers. Big gap up, $1.33 versus $1.10. I think another account we had Skechers over here, and then we got out of it. Just wasn't moving in the right direction. Energy. First Energy, Q1 adjusted EPS 55 cents versus 56. Initially sold off and got a bounce. Earnings are down 8%. Chevron. Q1 adjusted EPS $2.93 versus $2.68. Tried to move up and pulled back. It's pretty flat for the day. ExxonMobil Q1 adjusted EPS $2.06, below consensus of $2.19, and it dropped, and now it's trying to fight back. Down 2.85% on the financials. Capital One Financial Q1 EPS $3.21 versus $3.30. You would think it would drop, but no, it's up slightly. Fair Isaac Q2 adjusted EPS $6.14 versus estimate of $5.81, and it drops. Maybe something to do with its Q2 look. Hartford Financial Q1 core EPS $2.34 versus $2.45, and yes, that's what you would expect it to go down at least 3%. It's in the bottom quadrant, even though it did try to fight back. Principal Financial Group, PFG, Q1 adjusted operating EPS $1.65 versus $1.73. It dropped all the way to its 200-day moving average, trying to fight back, down 3%. Dexcom. Q1 adjusted EPS 32 cents versus 27 cents. Tried to move higher and then stunk under its 50-day moving average, which isn't a good sign, but it's down nearly 8%. Edwards Life Sciences Q1 EPS 66 cents versus 64 cents. It's trying to hold there. It's below all of its major moving averages, down nearly 2%. Gilead Sciences Q1 adjusted EPS $1.32 loss versus $1.49 loss. It's pretty flat for the day. ResMed Quarter three adjusted EPS $2.13 versus $1.91, and it is rising like a rocket off of liftoff, up 27%. And Teladoc, a big 2020 star, quarter one EPS loss 49 cents versus estimate of 46, and they're down 0.3%. On to industrials and materials, Carlisle Companies. Quarter one EPS $3.72 versus $2.82. And you would think that would be going up, but it is going down 0.38%. Eastman Chemical. Quarter one EPS $1.61 versus $1.43. I typed the wrong letter, and it is pulling back a little over 1%, getting close to that 50-day moving average. Ingersoll Rand approved an incremental $1 billion boost to share buyback, and their shares are up slightly on that, 1.9%. Level 3 Harris. They have an office here in the East Bay. Quarter one adjusted EPS $3.06 versus estimate $2.90. And it is gapping up and rising on this, 3.67%. Terex, quarter one EPS $1.60 versus $1.37. Initially sold off below their 200-day moving average, and now they're rising rapidly, up 2.42%. Weyerhaeuser, quarter one adjusted EPS 16 cents versus 15 cents. They're off slightly at a little over 1%. And here's the big guns: technology, media, and telecom. Microsoft, quarter three EPS $2.94 versus estimate $2.63. Revenues rose 17% year over year, above consensus $61.9 billion versus consensus of $56.8 billion. That's quite a nice move, and we got this up about 2.6% on the day. Alphabet, quarter one EPS $1.89 versus $1.51. We got a big gap up, and they're announced that they're going to add dividends. Operating margin 32%. Authorized repurchase of $70 billion worth of the company Class A and Class C shares. Says intends to pay a quarterly cash dividend in future. YouTube and cloud to exit 2024 at a combined revenue of $100 billion. Gene Munster notes that this implies a 25% growth in each of the next 3 quarters compared to YouTube, up 21% and 28.4% in March. On to AppFolio. Quarter one revenue is $187.4 million versus estimate of $178.69 million. Adjusted operating income $48.2 million versus estimate $39.25. Stock is up close to 12%. Earnings up almost 1,000% there. Atlassian team, quarter three adjusted EPS 89 cents versus 62 cents. And revenues are $1.19 billion versus estimate of $1.097. And still, they drop quite precipitously, down almost 10%. Wow. Earnings were up 65%. That's a stunner. KLAC, quarter three adjusted EPS $6.07 versus $5.01. And it is moving up. This is helping the semiconductor index, which we looked at earlier, up 5%. Intel, which is not helping it, quarter one adjusted EPS 18 cents versus estimate 14 cents. And in the technology area, that's just not going to be good enough. And their stock drops 10%. Roku, Q1 EPS lost 35 cents versus an estimate of 61-cent loss. They beat their estimates by a big range, but they're still sinking about 8%. So we'll see how far this one will go. Snap is being traded a lot today. Their earnings are up 200%. A 3% profit versus estimated loss of 4 cents. And they are up over 30% today. That is a nice move for those folks at Snap. I know they had some layoffs over there, so apparently their strategy is working. T-Mobile, Q1 EPS $2 versus $1.87. They're pretty flat, really, down 0.38%. Western Digital, Q3 adjusted EPS 63 cents versus estimate 21 cents, are up slightly at 0.55%. And finally, Elon Musk, XAI, is close to having billions of dollars more in its coffers to make its chatbot Grok a more fearsome competitor to OpenAI's ChatGPT. Musk, your old startup, is raising $6 billion at a valuation of $18 billion, not including the investment, according to people close to the deal. The information is reported, and that is our news for the day. So let us take a look what's up 3%. See if we have anybody that we looked at in the news. We got Sprouts Farmers Market. It is breaking out. Look at all this institutional ants showing buying of institutions. Went kind of flat. Interesting, whenever we see this, stock usually goes down. And fell to 60.46. It's got a flat base, kind of this box area. And it looked like it came out of it earlier in the week. And it is definitely moving up today. Look at all this blue volume down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 days in a row. That is pretty amazing. CAVA Mediterranean Grill. When it was at 66, we bought back our covered calls. So got a big move here. I think off of Chipotle and maybe a couple other restaurant groups. It's up 10% for the day. This is a core position we're going to keep for a long time, we hope. Southern Copper, we looked at in the mining and metals. Eldorado Gold is up. Google, we looked at. BRT on this day right over here on the low, we put on option, naked option. So give us a possibility if it trends in the right direction that we could get the shares. So we got 9 call options on this and it keeps moving on up. So it's looks like it's going to get into the portfolio. Carlisle companies gapping up 5.5%. Got 11 items. New Oriental, it's up strongly 2 days in a row. I'm not sure if that was a gap up yesterday, but it looks pretty close. Datadog is up, capping up, maybe on the news with Microsoft. They are a partner with Microsoft, so they're gapping up for the day. Let's just take a look at our volume. Had a strong blue volume right over here and fell back here. So that is Datadog. see what's up 5% on a 50% increase in volume. Let's move to the top of the list. We got Google, Anavis Bio. Wow, look at all that move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row. Look at all this volume. Got pretty strong volume here. Was pretty flat. Had one day went down. So there's got to be some news there. Appfolio was in the news. We've got 29 items. We're not going to go through all of them. AutoNation. Earnings down 26%, but look at that move up 8.66%. B. Riley Financial moving up 3 days in a row. Actually, 5 days in a row, but we had the gap up and it continues moving on pretty good volume. Ball Corporation, look at that move. Earnings were pretty flat, down $10.76 loss. Must have been better than they expected. BBB Foods, Mexico-based company, operates hard discount store. This is a IPO. Look at that move on their earnings. Up 485%. That is quite a move. That looks like I'd wait to see a day or two, and this might be one you may want to get back into if it fits your investment objectives. Carlisle companies we looked at in the news. We got Exponent. That's the name from the past. Technical consulting services in the areas of impending litigation. Gapping up 16% on earnings and up 22% on the stock. Can't really see the volume here. Had a sell-off yesterday, pretty mild, but it is definitely moving today on earnings. Iridium Communications had a big sell-off, and it's popping back up a number of days in a row. 1, 2, 5 to 7 days in a row, the stock is up. It's up 6%. We got some defense. We got Moog, Pegasystems, Rush Enterprises and Shipping, Tudor Perini and Construction, another shipping company, Universal Logistics, SPS Commerce. Let's just look at Rush Enterprises. They were significantly down. They're moving up on 18% decline in earnings earlier in the week. And Universal Logistics. Wow, look at that move. Earnings up 109%. Trucking transportation across the US. And this is in technology, I believe. Commercial silica used in a variety of applications. Ceramics. It's pulling back and then got a little bit of a bounce up 20%. It's hard to believe that that move is up 20%, but it is back in the buy area. So that's a look at that group. And finally, what's up 10% on 200% increase in volume. Wow, look at all these. There's Tudor Perini, which we didn't look at. It's up 21%, 50% increase in 50% decrease in earnings, but a 490% increase in volume. And look at that volume. And what do we got here? We got Anavis Bio, which was in the other chart, up 18%. Cullinan Therapeutics. Wow, look at that move. And look at all these blue bars. This would have shaken out a few people, I'm sure, as it crashed through its 50-day moving average, but it is fought back. PTC Therapeutics, also in biotech. ResMed, earnings up 27%. The stock is just flying at 18%. Skechers, we looked in the news. Appfolio, we looked at in the news. Google, we looked at in the news. Exponet, we looked in previous grouping, and Silicon. And that's everything right there. So there's various chart patterns. This is one of the most common. It's a cup with a handle formation. That is a long cup consolidation, waiting for news, positive news. Comes up here to the buy area, pulls back. You want to see a pullback in light volume. This is probably shaking out a number of people who bought over here. This is what we call overhead resistance. They're being shaken out. Then all of a sudden we start to get some buying. 2 days in a row. Got looks like pretty close to a gap up there. Pulls back a little bit, gets close to the 20-day moving average, and then fights back at the end. It's still pretty low volume. So this is what you want to see. You want to see low volume on the pullback, and then you see volume come in when it starts to take off. So other than this day right here that preceded the pullback, we got the second highest volume right over here, and it just continues. It pops here. We got a little bit of a pullback again. Once again, on light volume. We got a little higher volume here on the second day of buying. And then it's light here. And then right before the earnings, we got some high volume. And then today, what do we got? Boom. It takes off 20%. So this is what you're looking for. So let's take a look. Bitcoin has been pulling back on, they were hoping for a rate reduction, and it's not coming. So that's why Bitcoin is pulling back. MicroStrategy, likewise, pulling back. Actually, it got a bounce today for some reason. Maybe it had pulled back a little more before got the move. Interesting, yesterday, Bitcoin went up to 65,000, and then I believe it's pulled back to 63,000. We'll see if we can get our Yahoo chart up on Bitcoin. It is kind of spinning right now. So if it comes up, but I wanted to take a look at this IPO that we have on, and I think I accidentally closed the charting mechanism here. So I apologize. No, it seems to still be there. Still really like this one. This is IPO starting to move a little bit. We'll see if we get a breakout. We bought right over in this middle area here, 75.80, I believe. So we are in the money now. We may have to roll that. I may just take off a few of those right now. We had 5 of them. Initially we had 10, but on the pullback we pulled off 5 of them. So we're going to buy. We just bought back 3 of the 80. And then the other 2 will roll a little later after the show. We'll roll them to the 80-85 area. So that's what we're doing there. We'll take a look at some of the other issues. Like we said, we took off the CAVA covered call. We still have Elf Beauty. Let's take. I think I'm in. Still got Elf Beauty. Take a look at Elf. It was down earlier in the day, but it is bouncing. It's holding pretty tight right around this level, right around its 20-day moving average. I like that. So we'll just kind of see where that goes. We have 600 shares. We had 900 on this day. We bought them at 174, went up to 178. So we took off 300 of them. So that is Elf Beauty. We talked about VRT. So we still have 2 of our payment stocks on here, Square and 4. 4 was a big loser for a while, but now the short on that we have on 4 is actually giving us a profit. So we had a 70-75, long the 70, short the 75. The 75 now is giving us so much profit that we're actually in the money. So we'll kind of, on the long term, I like this, but we need to get some buying coming in here. We'll keep a look on that. And Square isn't doing much either. Did bounce a little bit today. Toast we have in some of one of our other accounts. It is bouncing today. That's pretty good action, considering, I guess, with the small caps bouncing with a slight pullback in the yields. So that's kind of what's happening with Toast. And that's kind of where we're at. That's the action. We're trying to consolidate. I really like this VRT. So we can take a look at a couple of IPOs that have failed. This was the company in Emeryville, California. Try to move up here. They got turned away and down she went. So that, let's see, look at the one. I think it's HC, Smith Douglas Homes, with the pressure on the yields. And we sold this right over here, I believe. Pressure on the yields. It's just turned over. So need the yields to back off for this to come back. But on a long term, this is probably might be a good place to be. We'll just have to kind of keep our eyes on it. So that's our show for today. Mornings with Michael is brought to you for information and educational purposes only. Look out for our weekend update later over the weekend. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Go out there and keep working on your goals and your activities. We'll be here for you. And if anybody is interested, we have some positive news coming in, how to, grow your income. So look forward to that in the future. But in the meantime, have a great day and keep shooting for the stars. You never know where you may end up.